Look at him right there on top, surface.
We are about halfway to a remote Bahamian island in the middle of nowhere. The goal is to travel as far away from civilization as possible to find fish that are bigger and more plentiful than back home. We're making the 60-mile trip on this 23-foot Andros, powered by a single 2007 Suzuki. We have a very small weather window, and any unexpected storms or winds could really lead to disaster on a boat this size. In addition to this, we're depending on our spearfishing skills for dinner. The only food we brought for this 2-day trip was a bag of sushi rice. Fortunately, I'm in good company. My friend Jack, who you probably know as Captain Jack Spiro, has done trips like this at least a dozen times before. And Ryan Myers is an expert when it comes to spearfishing adventures in remote locations. We're also joined by Jack's dad Keith, who will be driving the boat for us, and Jack's friend Jake, who's another avid spearfisherman. After clearing customs, we didn't waste any time getting in the water. We needed to at least secure dinner by the end of the day. The first spot had a lot of great reef structure, but not too many fish around. This was because we were still pretty close to that large Bahamian island where the customs office was, and the fish populations would only get better as we travel further away from civilization. Having not used a pole spear in over a year, I took my first opportunity to see if my aim was on. If you haven't tried Schoolmaster before, they are just as good as mangrove snapper, and the Bahamas is home to some massive ones.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
After diving a few more close spots, we made a big run about 20 miles to a spot that Jack said was good for mutton snapper. It wasn't long before this nice mutton came in, right behind Jack, who was already on a dive. I made my drop while the mutton did circles behind Jack, basically staring at him while he grunted laying on the bottom. As I closed the distance, the fish swam into this rock. Unfortunately, the fish moves at the last second, and my shot lands a few inches too low.
I missed one I should have got.
They're big. Same.
Shortly after, a nice-sized cubera came in to check out the action. I load my pole spear as I head straight to the bottom rather than chasing the fish. I level out before reaching the bottom, and the cubera turns to see what I am. When the fish gets as close as I think it will, I take a couple of big kicks to close the distance and take a shot. Again, the fish has enough time to get out of the way before my spear reaches it. While still breathing up from that last dive, I spot another nice mutton snapper beneath me. But before I can dive, Jake takes a drop and closes the distance to the fish. Just when I think the fish is about to start swimming away, Jake takes a long shot that connects with the fish.
There we go. There's one though, right?
All of the commotion brought in another predator, a really nice-sized black grouper. While this fish is legal to take in the Bahamas, it would be illegal for us to take it back to the United States this time of year. There is no way we could eat a fish this big in 2 days, so I decided to just take a dive and line up on the fish to see if it would let me shoot it. It's incredible how these fish always know if they're really in danger or not. Another nice mutton swims in, so I catch my breath and take a dive. Muttons usually don't let you chase them down and shoot them, so I head straight for the sand and grunt to see if the mutton will come check me out. I can tell by the way the fish is acting that he's not gonna come in, so I take the slip tip off of my pole spear and shoot this lionfish instead. While lionfish are great to eat, they aren't worth the hassle of shooting when you have limited cooler space and if you're using a slip tip system like we're using here. As an invasive species, it's better to put a hole through these fish rather than ignoring them. Of course, as soon as I hit the surface, the big mutton comes back to check out the dead lionfish. Jake takes a dive and somehow chases the mutton down and takes one hell of a long shot.
Holy shit, that's right here!
The pole spear barely leaves his hand before these reef sharks were chasing down his fish. I try my best to catch my breath and go down and retrieve the fish, but on my way down, the sharks get to the mutton before I can. I grab Jake's pole spear and my left leg gets tangled with his reel line. I try to calmly untangle myself so that I can swim back to the surface. The sharks make it apparent that the mutton is their dinner now and not ours.
Okay, let's go. All right, well, we're seeing all sorts of fish. Just shot a real nice mutton that got sharked, and caberos are just being a little smart. Yeah, let's get out of here. He just had a big mutton get sharked.
Oh, did he?
With a few snapper in the boat, we knew we weren't going hungry tonight, but we didn't come all this way for a single dinner. We had 5 different families to feed, so we kept covering ground to find more fish to fill the coolers. The next spot we hit was a drop-off from about 50 to 80 feet deep, and I spot a school of 4 or so muttons cruising into the shallow side of the reef. I start by swimming in the direction that the fish are going, then decide to give Jake's strategy of chasing down the fish a try, and manage to get just close enough to land a shot. When you have a struggling fish at the end of your line, you really need to try to get that fish to you as soon as possible, or sharks like this may come in trying to steal your catch.
I shark had it, bro.
I did too, man.
Not long after, this mackerel came in. I was finally warming up to using the pole spear again, and I was pretty happy with that stone shot.
Dude,
How was that?
that was awesome. Is my GoPro on it?
We bled and gutted the fish while waiting for the boat to come pick it up, when all of a sudden we see this nice African pompano in the distance. To be completely honest, this is the first African pompano I've ever seen in the Bahamas. I take a look at Jack to see if he's gonna dive on the fish, then take a drop of my own. In this moment, it looks like the African pompano is going to swim right up to me, but just before coming into range, he turns away. I really shouldn't have chased this fish, and in retrospect, if I had just stopped swimming altogether and made a drop to the bottom, the fish's curiosity probably would have gotten the better of him. I released the spear knowing there is no chance of hitting the fish from that distance. I was really upset with myself after this dive, and to be honest, I still am. Fortunately, further down that same reef, Ryan got a shot at the same fish. I spot another nice mutton snapper and take a drop. I try looking around to see if there are any other fish, and to try to divert my attention away from the mutton snapper. When I feel like I'm as close as I can get, I take a few big kicks and take a shot. Knowing there are sharks in the area, I bring the mutton to me as fast as I can and head for the surface.
Appreciate the assist.
Yeah, I got you.
This is one of Ryan's dives that I was spotting. He's laying on the bottom in the sand in about 60 feet of water trying to bring in one of the nice cubera that were swimming around. He takes his shot and immediately the sharks are on him. I take a dive to try to help him keep the sharks off of his fish.
Just barely.
Barely. Barely.
That's Ooh, he's in the jaws. He's in the jaws. Did he get some scrapes? He got scrapes, bro. He's in the jaws of death. Oh, down there.
At this point, every single cooler we had brought was full of fish, so we headed to some grass patches to pick up a few conch for dinner. Conch are legal to take in the Bahamas, but they're illegal to bring back to the United States, so we only took enough for dinner. Then we headed to the island we were going to be anchoring at overnight and got ready to make dinner. We started by cleaning the conch, tenderizing it, coating it in seasoning, then pan frying it on Jack's cast iron skillet. Ryan cleaned the mackerel and sliced it into thin pieces for nigiri. And we started roasting a small grouper that Ryan shot over the open fire. The meal that followed was nothing short of 5 stars, and the view was incredible too.
Conch turned out freaking delish. We got some nigiri, and the real thing is this. Look at that.
Yeah. I could do like 2 more pieces of this probably. This is delicious.
I mean, just a tiny bit because it's really spicy.
Cheers. Good, right?
Super
Did
good.
that in
Where am I? Am I at Nobu?
We set up our hammocks and got some sleep, with a plan to do a bit more diving on the way home. Well, overnight the wind picked up quite a bit. So we'll see how the morning goes. With the wind blowing, we decided to cut the trip short and head straight for home. On a smaller boat like this, the crossing could easily take all day in bad weather. Fortunately, by leaving early, the waves didn't have enough time to build up, and we made it back without any problems. Thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to check out Jack and Ryan's videos of their dives on the same trip. I'll see you in the next one.